Fusible thread in a serger for quilt binding? You may have heard of it, but I promise you haven't seen it done quite like this, including a crossover method and some steps that are going to make your serger work harder so you don't have to. Hey Serger Bees, I'm Sookie, your serger coach, and this is video 5, the last video in the series, 4 ways quilters can use a serger. Plus, I created a beautiful free guide to accompany the series, and you'll find the link in the description. Today we are talking about fusible thread, what it is, how it works, and how to use it with your serger in a way that is going to make quilt binding feel so much more manageable. And I've got a few clever tricks up my sleeve that I think are going to change the way you think about binding altogether. Let me cover the basics quickly because I know you want to get to the good stuff, but hear me when I say these things. They matter. Skip this part and you'll be back here later, I promise. Fusible thread is a heat-activated thread. When you apply heat from your iron, it melts just slightly and creates a temporary bond, not permanent, not glue. Think of it as a warm hug that holds your binding exactly where it needs to be while you're doing your final finishing. We stitch it right into the overlock seam. It lands on the underside of the binding, and when you fold and press, it activates and holds everything in place. No pins, no shifting. This is a temporary hold, not permanent bonding. For anything that will be washed, you'll want to complete a final finishing step by hand stitching, a serger chain stitch, or top stitch on your sewing machine. Think of this step simply as the basting step of binding. It holds, it helps, then you finish. The one exception is wall hangings or decorative pieces that won't be laundered. For those, the fused binding is enough. Here's why quilters who find this method rarely go back. Less shifting, cleaner prep, and a calmer finishing process. It's one of those things where you'll wonder why nobody told you sooner. And whatever serger you have, every make, every model, this works. A serger is a serger, and fusible thread plays nicely with all of them. Always follow your manual for setup and use your threading guide. Same rules apply as always. Your manual is your best friend. And fun fact, if you've got an older serger and your manual is nowhere to be found, do a quick Google search with your make and model. Chances are you'll be able to find a PDF version online. Because you're stitching through multiple layers at once, make sure you've got a larger needle. I'd recommend the 9014. This will help you avoid skip stitches. As always, check your manual for the correct needle system. ELX 705 or 13705H. If you need a refresher on needle types, head back to video 1 or check the free guide. Fusible thread is more delicate than regular serger thread, and it behaves slightly different as it unwinds. So if you've got a spool disc, most sergers come with one in the accessory box, so check there first. Use it. It's a small flat disc that sits under your spool and keeps it lifted so the thread unwinds freely without getting caught around the spool pin. Alternatively, you can put the spool cap on top of the spool, so try both ways out. If yours didn't come with one, a separate thread stand works perfectly. Just make sure that the thread stand is the same height as the thread stand on the machine. In this case, I used 2 yoga blocks just to get it at the same height. And one more thing. Stitch slowly with fusible thread. This is not a stitch to rush. Slower speed helps it feed evenly and stitch properly. For this technique, we're using a 4-thread overlock wide. A 3-thread overlock wide works too, but the extra needle really does help secure the fusible thread a little more effectively. So if your machine can do a 4-thread, go ahead and use it. Here's something really important I want you to understand before you thread up. The fusible thread does not go just anywhere. Your left and right needles both get standard serger thread. Your upper looper gets standard serger thread. And your lower looper, this is the star of the show today. This one gets the fusible thread. The reason we put it in the lower looper is because that's the thread that ends up on the underside of the seam. And that's exactly where we need it, sitting right against the back of the quilt so that when you fold the binding over and press, the heat activates it and holds everything nicely in place. Pretty clever, right? Now, when it comes to tensions, if your serger has traditional tension dials, start with your left and right needles at 4, and your upper and lower loopers will be set anywhere between 3 and 4. You will want to play around and see where it lands so that the threads lay smoothly along the edge. If your machine has automatic tension, select the correct stitch, let the machine do its thing. Stitch width, 6 to 6.5. Stitch length, 2.5 to 3. And differential feed, start at 0.7, just slightly tighter than neutral. If your machine has a presser foot pressure control, reduce that pressure to help everything feed more smoothly. Less pressure, lighter touch, smoother stitch. And if you have a clear or plastic presser foot, swap to that one because it's lighter weight. It tends to glide over those layers much more easily than a heavier metal foot. And quick note, your settings might be slightly different than mine, and that's completely okay. Inside the free guide, I designed a page just for you to write down your final settings. Test first, adjust for your machine, your fabric, your thread, and when you land on something that you love, add a little swatch right there for next time. And if you like this kind of calm, step-by-step teaching, Serger Escape was made for you. It's my beginner serger course. It only happens a few times a year, and enrollment is intentionally kept small. So get your name on the wait list. You'll find that link inside the free guide. Okay, Serger Bee, let's walk through how to attach your binding. If you already have a method you love, stick with it. But if you're open-minded to trying something new, especially when it comes to pushing the boundaries of what your serger can do for you, here's exactly what I do. And I think once you try it, you're not gonna go back. Step 1, preparing your binding strips. Cut your binding strips to your preferred width. Throughout this lesson, I'll be using 2.5 inches. In this video, I'm joining mine on a mitered angle. And just so you know, it's perfectly fine to use your serger thread, including the fusible thread, for this joining step. It's not going to hurt anything. In fact, I prefer it because when you go to press, that fusible thread already inside the seam helps everything lay down nicer and gives you a more professional binding finish. Here's how I do the mitered join. Place 2 binding strips right sides together at a 90-degree angle, overlapping the ends. Using a marking pen or pencil, draw a diagonal line from corner to corner. That's going to be your stitching line, where the left needle will ultimately sit directly over. As your serger coach, this is the moment I want to encourage you to start breaking a habit. Avoid using straight pins near your serger. Pins and blades do not get along. And getting out of the pin habit now is one of the best things you can do for yourself as a serger student. To secure your strips together, reach for a Wonder Clip or a Sew Tights Light. Wonder Clips and a Sew Tights Light hold just as well. If you absolutely must use a pin, use a flower head pin. They're longer and easier to spot. And always position it parallel with the presser foot, running in the same direction the fabric feeds through. And keep it far, far away from stitching line as possible. And always, always stay aware of where the blade is. Repeat this process for as many strips as you need to create your full binding length. At the serger, align that marked diagonal line directly under the left needle. Use the markings or notches on your presser foot to help guide the line. Those markings correspond with the needle positions. Let the blade trim away the excess fabric as you stitch. And hey, really quick, relax those shoulders. I've been teaching sergers worldwide for over 25 years, and I can see your shoulders all scrunched up from here. Remember, slip them right onto your middle or ring finger so they're always right there when you need them. Remove the clip and press the seam allowance toward the wrong side of the overlock stitching. This lets the fusible thread side lay flat and smooth against the binding. Repeat this process for as many strips as you need to create your full binding length. Press the binding wrong sides together, aligning the long raw edges just like traditional quilt binding. Unfold one short end of the binding and trim it at a 45-degree angle. With the wrong side of the binding facing up, stitch along that angled edge so the fusible thread in the lower looper ends up on the right side of the finished binding, just giving the edge a hair trim, not a hair cut. Clip your thread tails at the top and bottom. Fold that short stitched edge over approximately a ½ inch. Finger press or use a wooden roller to hold the fold in place, making sure the fusible thread is now facing right side up. This angled end will lay flat while the opposite binding tail tucks inside later to create a clean, finished join. Once pressed, the fusible thread will help create a smooth, clean, mitered finish. Like magic. Step 2. Attach the binding to the quilt. Some quilters prefer to attach their binding to the backing side first and then fold it to the front. That works just as well. Whatever method you're comfortable with is a-okay. In this video, I'm attaching to the quilt top, then wrapping towards the back. Position your folded binding tail so the folded edge is at the top and the angled tail points upward. Align the raw edge of the binding with the raw edge of the quilt. Start somewhere along the side of the quilt, then measure down from the top edge of the binding the same distance as the width of your binding strip plus 1 inch. Since my binding is 2½ inches, I'm marking it at 3½ inches. Place a wide, visible mark on the binding so you can easily see it under the needles and along the presser foot while stitching. Before you start stitching, remove the thread tails from the stitch fingers. Now, if you're not sure what stitch fingers are, they are the small metal prongs that sit under the presser foot and help form the stitch. Your thread tails naturally rest on them after you thread up. And if you leave them there, when you start stitching, they can get caught and cause a messy start. So just pull those thread tails gently off the stitch fingers and out of the way so the binding can slide smoothly under the presser foot and begin cleanly at the marked line. We're going to be doing this a lot today, so get into this habit now. And if you'd like a more detailed explanation of what the stitch fingers are and how they work, I mention a parts and pieces video inside the free guide that will walk you through every part of your serger, including this one. Position the binding under the presser foot so the needles are directly over the marked line. Lower the presser foot and begin stitching without trimming away any fabric at this point. Continue stitching down the edge, keeping the long raw edge of the binding aligned just inside the blade so only the slightest amount, if any, is trimmed away. Step 3. Mitering the corners. As you approach the corner, place a wide, visible mark on the binding 1/4 inch above the next raw edge of the quilt so you can see it clearly under the needles while stitching. Stitch until you reach that mark. Raise the needles and the presser foot, then gently pull the quilt and thread chain toward the back to release the threads off the stitch fingers before clipping the thread tails. This creates a clean, professional stitch finish, and it's a great technique to tuck away for all kinds of future serger projects. Fold the binding toward the right so the binding strip runs parallel with the next raw edge of the quilt, creating a 45-degree angle at the corner. Then fold the binding back down, aligning the long raw edge with the next raw edge of the quilt. Raise the presser foot and slide the quilt binding under edge so the edge sits just in front of the needles. Lower the presser foot and begin stitching. Starting this way gives you a clean, professional finish at the beginning of each new side. Continue stitching, aligning the raw edge just inside the blade so little to no fabric is trimmed away. Repeat the same process at each corner. Mark a 1/4 inch above the next raw edge, stop at the mark, fold right to create the 45-degree angle, fold back down to align the next quilt edge, then restart with the edge positioned just in front of the needles. Step 4, joining the ends. When you reach the final side and you're getting close to where you started, tuck the ending binding tail inside the folded beginning tail to create a clean finished join. Smooth the binding flat. Stitch the final edge, carefully overlapping the original stitching line just by a few stitches. Be careful not to let the blade trim away any of the original stitches or that folded edge. Once you've stitched past the original stitching line, stop, raise the needles, raise the presser foot, then gently pull the quilt and thread chain toward the back of the serger so the threads release cleanly from the stitch fingers for a neat professional finish. Step 5, turn and press. Fold the binding over to the opposite side of the quilt, in this case, toward the back, using your favorite mitered corner method at each corner to create a neat folded finish. Use wonder clips to hold the binding in place around the edges and corners. Then press with your iron to activate the fusible thread and temporarily fuse the binding in place. Step 6, finish. You can now permanently secure the binding using your preferred stitching method: hand stitching, a straight stitch on your sewing machine, or a chain stitch if your serger has that option. Here's what I want to leave you with today. Write this down, tattoo it on your brain if you have to. A serger is not a machine you have to master all at once. It is an entirely new system. So be kind to yourself as you learn. Every adjustment, every test stitch, every moment you figure something out, that is progress. Don't rush it. Just keep going, because confidence doesn't come from thinking about serging, it comes from actually doing it. So get in there and just stitch. And until I see you next time, I hope you have a creative day. Bye-bye.